Did you know one software update managed to compromise over 18,000 organizations, including some of the most secure government agencies in the world? This wasn't a zero-day exploit or a brute force attack. It was something sneakier, and it slipped right through the front door. Today, we're going to talk about two hacks that shocked the cybersecurity industry. We're going to talk about supply chain attacks. SolarWinds was a well-respected company. Thousands of organizations use this software Orion to monitor and manage their IT systems. The client list was like a who's who of powerful organizations, Fortune 500 companies, US government agencies, even cybersecurity firms themselves. Orion updates were trusted. They were signed with SolarWinds official digital certificates, meaning customers could install them without a second thought. But sometime in March of 2020, that trust was shattered. The attackers, believed to be a Russian state-sponsored group known as APT-29 or Cozy Bear, found a way into SolarWinds' build system. That's part of the company where source code turns into software updates. Instead of directly hacking every target, they pulled off something far smarter. They poisoned Orion's updates. They inserted a tiny, nearly invisible piece of malicious code into the software. Every time a customer downloaded what they thought was a legitimate update, they were unknowingly installing a backdoor. This wasn't some clumsy malware. It was elegant, silent. The code could lie dormant for up to 2 weeks before activating, just to avoid detection. By the time it started sending out encrypted communications to the attackers, the damage was already done. The poisoned updates, now dubbed Sunburst, spread to 18,000 organizations. Among the victims, the US Treasury Department, Department of Homeland Security, Microsoft, Intel, Cisco, even FireEye, a top-tier security firm. Think about that. The hunters became the hunted. The attackers were inside emails, sensitive files, source code repositories, and no one even noticed. The hack might have continued for months longer if it weren't for FireEye. In December 2020, FireEye noticed something strange. Their own red team hacking tools were stolen. While investigating, they were able to trace the breach back to SolarWinds Orion updates. When they pulled the thread, the entire operation unraveled. The revelation sent shockwaves through the cybersecurity world. Analysts called it one of the most sophisticated cyber espionage operations ever executed. SolarWinds' reputation took a massive hit. Governments scrambled to assess the damage, and the cybersecurity community left wondering who can they trust. Do you think after SolarWinds, companies would have locked down their software supply chains immediately? But just several months later, the world learned the same painful lesson again, this time with ransomware. Because in July of 2021, Kaseya was the victim of the same playbook. Kaseya wasn't a household name, but to IT professionals, it was huge. Their software, VSA, was used by managed service providers, or MSPs, to remotely manage IT systems for thousands of businesses. Think about that for a second. Hack one software provider, and you get access to hundreds, maybe thousands of companies all at once. And that's exactly what the attackers did. On July 2nd, 2021, while Americans were preparing for Independence Day weekend, a Russian cybercriminal group known as REvil, short for Ransomware Evil, struck. They exploited a zero-day vulnerability in Kaseya's VSA software, something no one even knew was broken yet. Instead of sneaking around quietly like in the SolarWinds attack, REvil went loud and fast. They pushed out a fake software update that installed ransomware directly onto the systems of MSPs, and by extension, onto all the businesses those MSPs managed. Within hours, 1,500 organizations across 17 countries were hit. Grocery store chains in Sweden had to shut down. Schools, clinics, and small businesses suddenly found their systems frozen. REvil demanded a jaw-dropping $70 million in Bitcoin for the universal decryption key. To make matters worse, they knew exactly how much leverage they had. Many of the victims weren't massive corporations, they were small to medium businesses, completely dependent on their data to survive. Imagine being a small business owner, staring at locked computers, not knowing if you ever get your customer files, payroll records, or invoices back. Kaseya moved quickly, shutting down its cloud servers and urging all customers to turn off VSA immediately. But for thousands, it was already too late. The US government condemned the attack, once again pointing fingers at Russian cybercriminal networks. Then, in a surprising twist, REvil suddenly disappeared. Their websites went offline, and a few weeks later, Kaseya announced it had obtained the universal decryptor key without paying the ransom. How they got it? Still a mystery. Some believed it was from law enforcement, others think it was quietly handed over by Russia due to political pressure. The Kaseya hack was a brutal reminder that attackers don't need to hack every company individually. They just need to compromise the software that everyone relies on. It also exposed the dark truth. Ransomware isn't just about money anymore. It's a weapon that can paralyze entire industries overnight. So how are attackers pulling this off? Well, it starts with the building blocks of the software itself. Most software today isn't built from scratch. It's stitched together using third-party code, libraries, and packages written by other people. Even if one of those pieces get compromised, everything that relies on it can be poisoned. Then there's vendor access. Vendors often have admin access to systems they manage. So if they get hacked, you got hacked. Another big one, visibility, or rather the lack of it. Most companies don't really know what their vendor are doing day to day. If something suspicious happens, they might not even notice until it's way too late. And attackers love going after smaller vendors. Why? Because those companies often have weaker security but have huge connections. Hack one of them and you can pivot into bigger, better targets. And sometimes it's not even an outsider, it's an insider. Maybe a disgruntled employee or someone who's been bribed can be the weak link that opens the door. That's the scary thing about supply chain attacks. You can have great security, but if someone you trust doesn't, you're still at risk. How do we protect ourselves? There's no magic button that fixes all of this, but there are smart moves we can make. First, stop trusting everything just because it's inside your network. This is what security folks call zero trust, and is exactly what it sounds like. Assume every device, every piece of software can't be compromised until it proves otherwise. Also take a hard look at your vendors. Are they serious about security, or are they just hoping you won't ask too many questions? Then there's the obvious one, but it's worth repeating. Patch everything and do it fast. Hackers love it when you delay updates because it gives them a head start. And even after that, watch your systems. Don't assume just because a tool is trusted today, it can't be abused tomorrow. Finally, have a plan. When things go wrong, and they will, you need to know exactly how to respond. The faster you move, the less damage you take. Supply chain attacks have changed the cybersecurity game. They showed us that trust can be a weapon. With SolarWinds, we saw how patient and silent an attacker can be. With Kaseya, we saw how fast and loud it can all fall apart. This is not just a technical problem, it's a trust problem. And in today's world, trust must be earned and constantly verified. Because the next big breach, it might not come through the front door. It might already be inside. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.